Okay, so let's do some back testing, bro. We took yesterday off and now we're just gonna chill. We're gonna practice trading A plus setups, and that's pretty much it. Okay, it's gonna rain on me, so you're gonna hear the rain, but that's fine. For me, it's really chill vibes, and yeah, that's pretty much what we're gonna do. We're just gonna chill and backtest today. 1 second, let me open my stream. And we're gonna play some really chill, rainy music. Can I find even something like this? Alright, so we're probably gonna do this actually. Let me delete this. And we're gonna do this with this, which is 2014 price action. Apparently, I took some two random demo, two trades here. One I think actually made sense with this inversion here automatically without even realizing. I was just like autopiloting while I was waiting the video, and I ended up trading this. What's up, bro? Welcome to the stream, bro. You're doing really well with backtesting, bro. Like, you have a crazy good win rate. Let me even check that shit real quick. We're just gonna be chilling today, doing some backtesting for like, I don't know, 1 hour, 2 hours. So we're just gonna prepare mentally for tomorrow and this week, and we gonna see what it do. This week I'm gonna just look a bit at what we have. We're gonna have pretty nice days. We have generally low probability, but it's gonna be definitely tradable compared to what we actually had this week. So yeah, now we're just kind of preparing to be traded. Let's look at what we actually have here. We're just gonna be chilling. We can backtest together. I backtest my strategy, you backtest yours, and this way we are both productive. I mean, here I'm just still anticipating lower prices. We see we have this 4 hour with a 1 hour inversion, but we do have a pretty big ass gap here, and here into it I would want to see some type of liquidity rate or some shit. Sessions, hello. Okay, my sessions are fucked apparently. Let me redo them. Boom, boom. Now they should be okay. Oh yeah, they're okay. I don't want to see some sort of liquidity rate, some liquidity getting generated, because our gap is pretty big, and when we usually have gaps this big, we don't really want to be trading like straight off. We need usually what I do wait when we have gaps this big is I wait for a liquidity rate. In this case we still don't have that shit, so I would want to see this high get taken. If it doesn't, it's fine. We don't have a trade. We don't have to have a trade. We did play out well, but it is what it is. We cannot have every trade in the market. And I realized one criteria on really good liquidity rates. What actually makes good liquidity is an area where bearish intent initiated. So here in this case, now this becomes liquidity, right? Because this is where sellers initiated and push price lowers, and this becomes the place where they actually have their stop loss. So we might get that towards the next day. Let's see if we get that shit. Okay, now we actually rate this, so I would still wait for a kind of 1 hour gap lower. Okay, never mind. Oh shit, this is actually pretty good. This is really good to just take straight off the bat, but let's think in terms of validity. Is this trade valid? Because we would have pretty crazy R here. So we do have 4 hour. Yeah, this is just straight up valid to take off the bat. I would call this an A plus setup. Why? Because we're clearly bearish right and buy, so we gotta start with this, right? This is what I start on always, higher time frame, on determining whether your setup is high quality or not. So we have bias. First of all, what is bias here? Clearly bearish. First of all, okay, that's checked, we're bearish. Second, POI or my edge. So we have clearly 4 hour gaps getting respected, and our POI becomes this. So we have a valid POI to trade off on the 4 hour or on the higher time frames. Then what is drawn liquidity? We have these low and this low, so we have solid drawn liquidity. So higher time frame now validates higher time frame now makes a story on reaching lower. Then we just go on lower time frames and we look if there's an intraday profile or a profile that makes sense on reaching lower, and we do have one of our models, which is Rate Asia, which we just played out here. which again makes our trade valid. We're gonna place our stop loss above here, and we're gonna have 3R on the low. Now we can execute, and let's see what is gonna happen. We can of course melt. Now that our take profit is gonna get hit, and it got hit, of course I'm gonna delete my order because the trade idea already played out. It doesn't mean the trade is invalidated, because look at this, we still have this hourly gap right here, which still validates us on looking to trade lower. Now all we're waiting for is a gap lower, or this is a good start, but it's not a very complete entry lower. I do want to see price support one more move. Okay, this is decent, but I wouldn't really generally really trust lunchtime setups. I would still want to see this get closed below, which is this 5 minute right here. We didn't close. See, just right here I just avoided one loss. First of all, because we were in lunchtime, which is bad timing, and second of all, we had this 5 minute FG. This becomes our criteria for looking for shorts lower, meaning price. We need to see price close below it. We see here, because we waited for this criteria, we just filtered a loss because price came lower, wicked that shit, and ends up holding bullish. So this is just how to use inversions, and why using inversions for your entry is really useful. Now I'm not sure if I want to still be looking at lower prices. Generally I still want to, but we do, yeah, now we kind of inverse. We formed a inverse here, we end up holding it, and we're breaking higher, but we do not have confluences on looking at buys. So I'm still gonna be looking at those shorts unless, yeah, or the next day happens. But this was a really good case on how we actually use entries and how easy you can filter or not filter and get a loss. So now we have buy sell liquidity here, really nice buy sell liquidity getting raided, and we do have a really nice gap in Asia. So this might be a potential trade to be following. For me, bias is still bearish, but we did inverse, which makes things a bit risky. So let's look again. We have to reanalyze 4 hour high time frame every day. In this case, we have a bullish sign, which is this 4 hour inverse, which makes looking for shorts really risky. But there's a play here, there's a trick. We can actually look for shorts to target this POI. I don't know, I wouldn't really call this an A+ setup, but let's see. We open London here. Okay, the timing change again. I do want to see a more proper raid on liquidity. We don't raid we do raid, but yeah, the idea played out, and we're gonna see that from here is very likely we're gonna see some bullish intent, because we have that bullish edge playing out, and that's exactly what we see. So here I would be down again. Our sell idea was playing towards this POI, because this is where it becomes really risky to keep looking at shorts. And now I would be down for buys. Why? Because we have one, we're kind of in the middle of switching trend in a sense. We have one confluence, and now I'm waiting for that second confluence to validate my idea, which would be us inverting this, which we did. Now all I want to see is a retest and us holding that shit higher. If we come back lower like this, I'm not going to be trading. So we just want to see this again. I want to see it get close above. Unless that happens, we're likely to still hold lower, but I do want to see what price does. Yeah, so it looks like we're still holding lower, but it's not really my type of trade here. Now we can, the fact that we close back below this again revalidates our idea for souls. It's a pretty, like, it's not really easy to be looking at the market like this, because you have to you consistently use POIs to determine bias, which can be really confusing or hard to do. But yeah, in my way and how I see the market, this makes sense for me. Now all I'm waiting for is a gap lower to be looking to target this, because we closed below, which means we invalidated a bullish POI, which means we're down to reaching lower. But the only thing is that we're shorting into a lot of resistance, and this is a filter that I would not this is a good inversion, but I'm not gonna take this trade because we're shorting into a lot of resistance, which is a criteria I'm using recently to filter only for A+ setups. This is what I'm practicing in this backtesting session, is to filter only for A+ setups, and we actually see that our setup would have failed because of that. And it's crazy, right? This happens over and over again. When you're willingly choosing not to trade against this, you're you're filtering a lot of losing trades, because you're shorting into a big cock block, right? you're shorting like into a very big cock block, and you don't want to be doing that. You want to be shorting when there's a very clear way for price, when there's not so many orders being stuck in a place that can really block your idea, right? So now we just, again, we keep going, we just analyze every day, we keep going, we're practicing choosing A plus setups. We don't care about anything else, because this, in reality, choosing only A plus setup is what is going to make us profitable, and it is what is going to increase our win rate way hard, I don't even know how to say this, but it's going to hella increase our win rate. I still here, I wouldn't really do anything. It's just very in the middle state. I wouldn't really be choosing to do much, but we do have bullish buys again getting confirmed by us, coming closing back below and inverting, which kind of means we're going to be bullish. This looks like a potential good London continuation. Why? This is one of my models, which is London continuation. Why this London range looks good to continue is because we rated Asian lows, which is a very good sign. But I do want to see us retrace deeper. If we don't, that's completely fine. From here, it looks like it's already gonna leave bullish, and it kind of, oh shit, we have some news here, but we're probably still gonna hold higher. See how we mitigate the zone that I just marked? See, exactly into that equilibrium point we end up coming and mitigating, and we're probably gonna hold still higher. We actually see that this is pretty crazy, pretty crazy how our zones and how experience actually matters in your trading. Drawn liquidity now becomes this is what you want to trade against, if that makes sense. So we want to be trading buys because this is very voided. This is where we don't have a lot of cock block. Here we had a lot of cock block or a lot of resistance on price delivering sells, and we see that we actually fail. In here we're gonna have a really easy time on delivering, even though we have this is a bit of an old price action. We generally looking at this, so this high becomes really easy to get targeted, really easy. See that we had a really aggressive. So again, we come back to the 4 hour, we reassess what's happened. So what has happened, 4 hour inversion here that ends up holding throughout. A lot of price action actually. We also have a 4 hour gap, so here we have really clear signs that we're gonna draw higher towards where, towards the opposing PDRA, which in this case is the hourly FVG. But price action is not looking great. We already reached into that. Now we break above it. We should probably hunt this, but this looks like a relative strong high, where we usually actually react off these two highs right here. This is definitely not an A plus setup for me, so I'm just gonna watch what price does. I would want to still see a retracement towards this area right here to continue London's range. We see we're pre-New York, we're kind of slowing down, but I would actually say we're drawing towards this. That's why this trade is relatively risky. I think buyers will fail just because we have this gap to fill, but it does depend on what price is gonna do. A weird ass bullish price action. Now we are actually starting to fail. This is just intuitive. This is how I would demo this, just to test out my knowledge. Okay, my knowledge was wrong. That's completely fine. We actually end up just wicking the shit, and now we just ended up wicking my knowledge, and now we're probably gonna hold lower towards filling that gap here. Even though it's not a valid trade, again, I'm just testing out my knowledge. In this case, it would have actually ended up printing towards our TP. We just got massively wicked on our imaginary trade, but the idea was correct. That's all that matters. Sometimes just testing out and seeing what you're doing, right? Let's see here, what do we actually have? We have very one-sided price action. I would still say we're reaching towards that high. Boom, we have this 4 hour gap, which I'm gonna wait for a 1 hour confluence. In this case, it's a bit weird, probably this inversion here. We're a bit over, yeah, we end up holding. Now I want to see that retest. Now I want to see price hold that shit higher, but we need to wait for London open, which now barely open. The fact that we came lower, and look at this shit, bro. This is crazy how the bodies always tell the story. Look, this changes everything in our bias and in our idea, because look how the bodies respected that hourly FVG here, very precisely. For us to confirm this inversion, we needed to see a body close above, and we actually did the opposite. We respect that hourly FVG. So this for me looks like a very big failure of reaching higher. So this very likely looks for me that we're gonna switch trend. Let's see. We again, my sessions are fucked. I don't know. Oh, it's not okay. So I would still want to see that retracement happen here. Boom, we print a 1 hour gap. Let's think, what does that body tell the story? The wicks of the damage. Yeah, what does it mean? It means that I don't even know how to explain this. Like, bodies tell the story, basically tell what's happening, right? Tell what's happening in this case. Since we had this FVGs, this FVG here, the bodies not closing above are telling us the story that we're respecting very short the flow, and we're respecting this 1 hour gap, which means we're very likely on reaching lower. See here, the wick does the damage. What damage did it do here? See, we had this 4 hour FVG, look what it did. It came above and it wicked above just to clear out that FVG. Does it make sense? Right, the bodies tell the story that we're respecting very short the flow, and the wick did the damage by closing and wicking a bit above that 4 hour, if that makes sense. So let's think, we have a 4 hour POI. Bias is not yet bearish. I wouldn't call bias bearish, but this is one of my edges. We have somewhat of a buy side liquidity getting taken, and we do have 1 hour to 1 hour. Yeah, exactly. Wicks do the damage in sense of clearing orders and taking okay, this looks like a strong high in a sense of like stopping people out, but it's probably gonna be a late. Okay, never mind, we just end up mitigating. This looked like a strong high from the start, but not a valid trade because we needed to wait for the hourly there. But again, see, bias, we're reading bias correctly. And this is, we started anticipating bearish price action. Why? Because we had a 4 hour FVG, right? And we had this body here. This was telling us a big story, a big story. And this ended up this very small detail here on how the bodies close ended up indicating lower prices towards retracing, and this ended up making a crazy difference. Like, this was how we were able to identify that trend is switching bearish, right? And even in terms of structure, let's look at structure, right? We have low, we have high. I mean, this is a bit weird, but let's say this is like this: high, low, high, low, my bad, high, low. And here, what did we do? We failed that lower high. We failed to break above, and we failed the lower high, which usually means we're gonna target this low. And now we actually confirmed the switch lower, and now we're clear on being bearish. So even in terms of structures, they're kind of the same thing, but POIs are extremely useful. We would have been actually able to take this trade because we had an hourly gap, but intuitively this order block is what screams to me. But this is definitely not an A+ setup, which is the thing I'm filtering for. But we're just gonna let this here to again test out our knowledge. Oh shit, almost wake that shit. Oh, now it waked that shit. Do you use breaker blocks? Yeah, I do use breaker blocks. I do really like breaker blocks, but it's kind of rare that I see them. I really like them for my entries, and I really like them on higher time frame. Okay, this didn't end up, but entries, like, this is what you see a lot of times. This is how the market is always going to validate our entry, by having this wicks right here. So the market actually validating my entry being good here, but us having 1-2 pretty strong reactions. The only reason the entry or this order block failed is because we were on the wrong bias and we were in bad timing. But this is what happens a lot of times, even when you're gonna take live trades. Is on losing trades, this is what is gonna happen. Price wicks your entry, has a reaction lower, but just ends up getting failed, and we see price print higher. But this, what matters, this right here validates that our entry was good. We were just wrong on the bias part. Let's look for breakers. Do we see a breaker here? I don't really see a breaker unless it's something really clean. This is what ICT would call a mitigation block, I'm pretty sure. This can be again a really good order block. I wouldn't really call this a breaker. This is a breaker. This is a really good breaker actually here that we're just retesting now. But yeah, now again we are reassessing bias, so let's wait for Asia session to open, then we can reassess bias. Okay, my boom. Okay, now here London opens. Let's remove our throw-ins and let's check what are we doing. We're currently inversing this, so if we actually inverse this right here, this means we're back on being bullish and we were just trading a retracement. By us anticipating this. We were anticipating a retracement. I just said this before. Bias is not yet bullish. We're just giving a retracement, which is one of my models. You trade from kind of external to internal. In this case, what POI that we came for is this breaker block that you actually said about the breaker blocks. So there's two ways you can trade. So usually the best way you can trade is from internal to external, meaning you're on trend, which is kind of exactly what happened here. Or you can trade high quality retracements, which it's exactly what we had in this case. We took buy side, we tapped the 4 hour, we had a lot of confluence that were showing us that we're retracing. What are we going to target when we're trading retraces is we're going to target the opposing PD array, which in this case was this breaker block right here. So I hope that makes sense. This is how I'm always trading. So let's reassess probabilities. I would actually say we're still very highly likely on being bullish, depending on how we behave to this 4 hour right here. It's a bit of weird. Price action is kind of in the limbo state is what I would call, which is kind of a state where we're not really certain on what we're gonna do, but I would still say we're very likely on coming for that trendline liquidity at top. This is again instantly, this is a model that my mind validates, which is a trending Asia, one of the models I trade, which we're gonna expect to sweep this trend line and come in this POI here. We see we form a gap, which makes it likely that we actually come there. Now this can be valid, actually this can be valid to take straight off the bat. And you might ask, why are you shorting against this FVG? Right, usually you don't want to be shorting against bearish FVGs, but why in this case it makes sense is because the bearish FVG is too big. It's too big, and when bearish FVGs are too big, they tend to get printed through by price. Now before placing the trade, we gotta again relook at what price is telling us. We see here on the 4 hour, these bodies are kind of telling a story that we're being bearish. This is not really great. This is not really great for our idea. Right, we do have confluences on being bullish, but the bodies are not really telling a good story. But we do have an hourly gap here, which I wouldn't really call this an A+ setup. Let me rethink again and reassess probabilities. Bias is bullish, but we're shorting against a 4 hour that is not yet closed above. But I'm kind of unsure here what to do, but let's just place it just for funsies. Okay. That's why I should have probably skipped it, but it is what it is, and we're gonna hold bearish buy. So here we see me not listening to what the story is telling me, which were the story that we got on the 4 hour, that we're respecting bearish price action. But now we're kind of flipping bearish once again. We're gonna wait for that retracement, which we probably won't get by the looks of it. It's really a weird state where I wouldn't really be trading realistically unless I get some clear price action. But yeah, let's reassess again. We look like we're printing back bearish. This is structure getting confirmed on being bearish, so this is when I would start being a bit more confident on actually being bearish. I do want to see us retrace. Let's see how we behave. We have an inverse here, but it's too small. I wouldn't really be trading it. I would wait and see how intuition already filtered the loss here, because the entry was too weak. This looks better, but we still have this sell side here, which I'm not really liking, because we might really hard wick of it, which is kind of what we get here. Okay, now it's good. Now we can actually be looking to short here, but it's very overextended when we have a really unsafe stop loss. But this is generally the idea that will probably play out. Okay, never mind, it doesn't play out, but yeah, this normally would have played out. But yeah, sometimes we probably get a deep pullback, because I did say that our stop loss is not safe. Okay, we actually have, it's weird, like price here really keeps on ping-ponging between biases, which is a state where we not really, my strategy doesn't really perform well. It keeps ping-ponging. We see we're basically stuck between this 4 hour right here and this 4 hour right here, this 4 hour breaker. So we keep ping-ponging. We ping-pong, we come from the bearish once, we come to this, we come again to this, we come again to this, we keep ping-ponging. This is a trade, this is a situation where we don't really want to be trading most of the times, until price breaks each one of the sides, right? And a really strong hourly gap getting held here, but no real. Okay, see again, you would have gotten trapped. Okay, now we're going bullish, but we don't. We again fail lower, so it's just this permanent ping pong between price. This is definitely a situation where we don't want to be traded. Definitely not. Let's see, we keep getting stuck between these two POIs. So in this case, until price breaks each side, we don't really. Okay, now we want to be traded. Now we're pretty chill on reaching towards this high. I would actually mark this as well, because this is the level price sometimes reacts off. So now we break. I do want to see that hourly gap close, which we did, but I do want to see the sell side getting swept before we leave higher, which we do. But there's one pretty big problem with this trade, which is timing. Not something I would be really down to be trading because of timing. We're more likely to be in New York PM session, we're more likely to start retracing rather than going higher, I would say. And we're more likely to not have a lot of volatility, which kind of is exactly what is happening right here. We're very likely on continuing the idea towards next day on Asia. Again, I can say I trust this move higher. We see we don't have any hourly gaps, so still very likely we actually come for these lows, and then we reach yeah, we see this is pretty bearish, I would say. Yeah, it's pretty bearish. Did we have confluence? Hell nah. Again, 4 hours is definitely respecting the almost respecting that shit, but it's a very weird limbo state where we're just in this consistent bullish order flow. But we did take buy side. We do have a fractal high, and we do have a 4-hour inversion, which is really strong signs of switching bearish and coming to target this trendline liquidity right here. We should have, in my opinion, we should have definitely continued higher. Let's see what we do. This is a good model. Again, London continuation. Usually we raid Asian highs. We come to this order block, and now this looks good on reaching lower, but I want to really take this. Okay, I would have actually taken this. I should have taken this, my bad. I wasn't really focused. We can target these equal lows right here. Let's see. Kind of struggling, but I think it's gonna work. This would have been probably a valid entry. Yeah, this would have been a valid entry. Just skipped price too far by mistake, but that's okay. And now we actually target that sell side, which is exactly what we said. I would say this is definitely an A+ setup for me. I should have actually traded this, but it is what it is. I'm probably gonna journal it, right? We have a perfect edge in my eyes, or a perfect play of my motto, which is buy side liquidity, or liquidity swept into a 4-hour area and a 4-hour inverse. This is technically my best setup, and we have low resistance on targeting these lows right here. This is definitely my A+ setup playing out. But let's see, in terms of entry, what timing did we actually have? We were fine. 12:30 is an hour I would be fine on trading, but very rarely I take trades like this. But sometimes if the entry gets shown in this timing, I would take it. We see how well we ended up holding that 3-minute FVG here. That's crazy. Would have targeted, first target would have been these lows here. Partial, maybe. We see that we actually end up reacting really strong. Partial, break even, and next target we probably would have left towards this 5-hour. This would have been the trade. Normally should have caught it, but it is what it is. What is this model? It's a London continuation, really valid. So let's start journaling it. I'm gonna journal every A+ setup I get, so I just get their data. So it's always useful, even if it's boring, even if it would be more fun to just keep backtesting. It's, for me, it's worth it in the long term, right? And we are backtesting 2014 price action, so we see this model, or this way of trading, is just how the market moves. It's not bound by time, right? It's not bound by time whatsoever. So we're not gonna just paste our screenshots, but this is definitely what I would call an A+ setup. And also we see we had low resistance here on printing lower, which made the trade great. Actually, we had this hourly here, which definitely would have made this hourly gap here, would have definitely made our main TP at 3R, and then second on targeting this trend line. So yeah, it's just interesting to see how the market's behaving. 50-minute, we also had a gap here. We had a really nice London continuation, London cont, that's all I'm gonna write. And on the 3-minute, we had an entry right here. on this 3-minute VG. What is the entry? It's an inversion. We didn't really have that market structure shift, but we did have the inversion, even if it's hard to see right here, and the gap getting printed. So this was our main position. We probably would have trimmed like 80% around these lows and break even, let the rest run towards the trend line. So that's pretty much it. I'm just gonna tag it as London continuation, and we just keep on going. We can probably reach further, but since it's a trendline liquidity, it's really risky. It's just better off to be targeting the first one. We're probably still gonna hold this though, or we inverse. Okay, I wouldn't really be trading unless we see hourly gap lower. I don't really prefer trading buys. Now I would prefer trading buys. Let's delete the drawings. Let's reassess probabilities. We swept trend line, so we have valid sell liquidity rate, and we do have a 4-hour inversion. So our area is weird again. It's kind of a trend line liquidity, or it's still this breaker. Actually, it's crazy that we're still holding this breaker through so much price action. It ends up being such a strong point in price. We ended 1, 2, 3 times. So we saw sell liquidity into area, and now we have the trigger on taking higher prices towards first target being this high. Second, a bit hard to take this high. These are usually highs that tend not to get taken that easily. And now we can refine also our zone, but we're probably very late on the session, which makes the chance of us not printing higher. This is a good gap, but again, we cannot really be trading this time. I don't take PM session setups. In this case, we're probably working because we had that really obvious liquidity. We don't even take this high apparently. It's interesting to see. We might retrace. Okay, I don't know why my control space is not working sometimes. Okay, we sweep massively that high, but it's just a clearance. Bro, why is you not working though, Gengi? Okay, now we reach back into the high, so we had proper bias, just no opportunity realistically. Now we just wait for price to do something. But why is you not working? Weird. Still want to see more price that we're actually holding this high as bullshit. So this definitely invalidates us still shorting. High resistance, as I said many times, this is where we avoid trading because this is very harsh conditions for us to be traded in, and which makes a very highly likely to see some version 10 of this consolidation. See how buyers got rejected massively. This is how we determine low probability conditions always when we have these type of consolidations. Usually when we have consolidations, we tend to consolidate as well, and that's kind of exactly what fucking happened here, which is definitely not what we want to be trading in. We see we kind of start initiating lower. In terms of confluence, let's see, what do we have? We're still in a 4-hour gap, which makes it risky, but we do have buy side liquidity 4-hour gap, but we don't really have a good trigger. In this case, our trigger is this hourly here. It's a bit iffy, the setup, I would say, but it can definitely still work. Yeah, it just got rejected. Okay, now let's see if it carries on lower. It's a good carry on, but I don't really like these rejections right here, and it would make a good trade, I'm not gonna lie, but it would require a big ass stop loss, and we don't really have clear targets to be taken. We don't have a really valid drawn liquidity in this case, right? We're kind of also trading against a 4-hour, which makes the trade risky. It's hard to tell. When we don't have drawn liquidity, we don't generally want to be trading. I would say this is drawn liquidity, again high resistance. Let's see in terms of R what we can have a 2-hour, but it's a really stretched trade. I would say it's a really stretched, slightly forced, but we're just gonna do it for the sake of backtesting. I don't really care about data right now. I just want to play, to be honest. And timing is decent actually. This high is strong, that's what I'm confident in it holding, but we gotta be careful at that high resistance that we're encountering. We see we start with not a great sign, which is a 3-minute inverse, which usually this right here really hard signals a retracement. But if we don't have massive reason, if we don't have a sell side liquidity, if we don't have some sort of POIs, it just means we're gonna retrace most of the time, which we actually do. We see we end up working again. Now we wanna, okay, so it ends up hitting decent trade. a bit iffy because of this trigger that we had lower. But let's see, I do want to see how price behaves to this high resistance. Here we see we start retracing, which is kind of crazy, right? In general, considering its lower time frame, I don't know, it might just be okay. It's probably gonna continue still throughout New York, but it just caused a reaction. Oh yeah, oh shit. It just caused a reaction. We end up coming for this wick right here, and then we just continue. But these are just areas that we gotta be aware, because this really helps us, first of all, not be caught in a retracement and not get mitigated or break even, because of these high resistance zone is usually when we react, come back to break even, and then continue. And that's kind of exactly what happens. These zones always cause a reaction, but that reaction can either come to raise some liquidity, come to retrace, come to break even, or stop you out. That's why most of the times we just want to avoid having an open position or not trimming our position when we reach this area. This is exactly what happened. We see this consolidation. These buyers here protected their orders, pushed price just came to this wick right here that we got in the middle of London. We wick it, and then we massively continue lower to now stopping them out. But these are always areas of reaction. That's why it's really important for us to be aware of high resistance zones. So again, I'm going to journal this because this is what I would call another textbook setup for me. Let's see what the model is. The model is a trending Asia. I would say it's just a bit a pretty deep pullback. It's a trending Asia, yes, but it's pretty deep pullback. But we're just gonna read. You don't have to journal a lot, you don't have to write. It's just you gotta take some screenshots, because in the future you might come here and you have so many setups you can check on. When did these setups work really well, when did they not? In this case, we traded off a consolidation. Remember what I said before, this is where we were very likely on seeing some bearish intent, and that's exactly what we see here. We see bearish intent initiating, and it's just really useful to do. Once you start seeing the market like this, once you start seeing consolidations and paying attention to them, is really going to change your life. At least it did for me. Previously, when I was trading against this consolidation, I had like a 33% win rate, which made me break even. Now I have a 60% win rate, which is a big fucking difference just by avoiding to trade into consolidations. If you think about it, it's a really simple thing to apply, but it makes a ton of fucking difference. Entry slightly atypical. We actually took it on the 1 minute here, but we had this protected high. That's why I was confident in leaving the trade. Let me also save the 50 minute, which was a deep pullback, really deep pullback. But now let's keep on going. Probably gonna reach into that 4 hour. Where is that 4 hour here? Probably this becomes our draw, but it's fine. We don't need to catch the whole move. Now let's wait for Asia Open, or London Open, my bad. Let's remove some of the drawings. We don't want to have a lot of drawings because we don't understand anything. Now it's interesting. Now we inverse this. What I would want to see for taking lower prices towards the next day is us retrace into this, get an hourly gap lower, then I'm really easy on targeting this. So what are my criteria here to be taking shorts is that hourly gap lower. We can potentially still hold like straight off London, but I don't really want to be taking any chances. I do prefer seeing an hourly gap lower, because we also, this can serve as a confluence, either a 1 hour gap lower or a 1 hour inversion. So we're gonna pay attention to this if we initiate. I can say I really trust this initiation, and timing is bad, so let's wait for New York and see how we behave to this red gap. If we hold it, we can take some shorts. It's a good hold, but it's very overextended. I would still wait for that retrace with that deep pullback and see how we hold. If we hold this bearish intent from here, that's really good. Actually, that's really good. A pretty wide stop loss, but it's fine. We have a really easy target, which is this previous daily low, 2.2R on previous daily low, and on the 4 hour gap, let's see. This is our final higher time frame target. We cannot really be targeting more than this because it's really risky to anticipate a 4 hour AVG getting inversed, right? So this is going to be our idea. We had that really nice range getting initiating from, mitigating the range, and now we're holding lower. We're again gonna take a 1 minute entry, and let's mark this, and our final target is just gonna be here at a 3R. Let's see. Oh my oh shit, oh my god, this probably is the best feeling you can fucking get. I think we entered before CPI or some shit. God damn. God damn, this is definitely CPI or some shit. Let's check. Oh my god, this is the best feeling you can ever get when price wicks your entry like this, and then oh shit. What, how many pips did this candle pin? 30 pips in 1 minute candle is crazy work. But again, we could not have anticipated the inverse, the 4 hour getting disrespected. We maybe could have, because we see here the 4 hour, we had a 4 hour FG, but when we go on the hourly, we have nothing. So this usually is a signal that that 4 hour is unlikely to hold, and we might actually be drawing towards this. Oh shit, so we could have actually done that. We could have actually done that. I didn't realize in the moment, but it's all good. I'm taking a 3R every single day of the week, but we could have taken fucking 13R. 13R is crazy. So let's just see. I am curious. Oh yeah, this is definitely CP. Oh, it's not CPI. I think it's NFP. No, let's check. 2000. How much? 3 July 2014. July 2014. Yeah, it's an FP. It's an FP, but it's very interesting to see, right? We actually could have taken this. I'm not sure if I would have taken this shit if I if I knew there was an FP. But look, my idea again. I said the plan. I said, okay, we have this 4 hour inverse, and all I'm waiting for is for price to give me an hourly confluence to take the short, either a 1 hour gap lower or a 1 hour inverse. In this case, we did inverse that hourly, and we did end up holding it throughout New York. We ended up taking a 1 minute entry. This is a unique entry. It's like an intro. It's one of my models that I have. Let me go over it really quick. The model is called range initiation, mitigation, continuation. It's a bit of a like fancy word, but it's nothing really much. It's basically we form a consolidation, we initiate from it, we come back to mitigate the consolidation here, and then we hold lower, which is, if you pay attention, it's exactly what we did in this trade. Range initiation, strong initiation lower, very similar to this one right here. Then we come back, make a deep pullback to mitigate the consolidation, and then we have an entry here to take price lower. We have an entry here to take price lower. So yeah, it's a pattern that happens a lot of times in price, so you might actually pay attention to it, because all these models that I have are patterns that I naturally spotted throughout my years or thousands of hours of backtesting. So try and pay attention to them, because it can be life-changing if you feel like you resonate with the models. If you don't, that's completely fine. Let's see what the model is. It's a bit of a weird model. I wouldn't actually, intraday model is something weird. It's more like a raid Asia, I would say, but late raid Asia. Yeah, late raid Asia. We can definitely call this a raid Asia. We come back to Asian raid. We just really screenshot really fast, because again, data is useful, and when you screenshot, when you're gonna paste in your journal, when you're pasting these things in your journal, it's really helpful because it stays in your memory, right? It's like you're taking a screenshot in your brain when you're doing this stuff. So I really liked higher time frame here. This is textbook, to be honest. Textbook higher time frame, textbook higher time frame. Buy liquidity rate into a 4 hour consolidation, and then I waited for a 1 hour confluence on reaching lower. This is really nice. Like, I really love this higher time frame. 1 hour confluence on reaching lower, which was the inversion. In this case, I'm writing because I feel like it's a really textbook model, right? And then we come out in London, we take all this buy side liquidity. We also see, this is, again, I talk about this a lot of times, how price is going to validate your zones is by you seeing them present in all time frames. In this case, we had a 1 hour FVG, and when we go on the 50 minute, we see that it's present on the 50 minute as well. So this gives us extra confluence that this zone is a good zone and it's not a false zone. My bad. So yeah, just pay attention to this shit. As for me, again, these are things that really kind of changed my life. What a crazy fucking trade. Could have went towards a 30 an hour, but we couldn't have really known. I didn't even know it was NFP, but we end up going towards, like, let's see. Oh my god, we feel again. See here how bodies are turning the story. Swigs to the damaged body are turning the story. I want to save the R, 16R, just in case, because these are useful, and I'm also gonna save data this time. News, we're gonna put NFP. Time, what time was it? We were in 3 July 03 2014. We're back to 2014 price action. This is why it works. It's because we're trading how the market prints, how the market works. We're not trading a, I don't know, man-made strategy. We're trading how the market moves. Market moves through inversions, through liquidity, and that's pretty much it. I'm gonna take a small 5-minute break. For now, we're doing good. 80% win rate is crazy. I did have a really troll trade that I shouldn't have taken, but yeah, we're doing good. Don't get too excited. It's only a couple of days. We just gotta stay focused on the process. We're not doing backtesting for data. We're not doing backtesting for results. Instantly, when you come in with that mindset that you're gonna do backtesting to test out your win rate, when you're doing backtesting to see how much you made or to see if you're profitable, your mindset is gonna switch towards the results, and what you're gonna do is stop focusing as much as you should, and that's really gonna fuck your mind up. So, but yeah, good trade here. I don't know why I deleted it. I wanted to still have it here. Really crazy trade, and I'm gonna leave it to stay here until I come back. And we had a 3R actually. So where's my, I'm gonna put this right here back in 5 minutes. I'm just gonna take a small break. where people actually be hating, bro. Like people actually be hating. I took one stop loss, and people be stop loss. You took a stop loss. What are you doing, bro? People be hating nowadays. People that don't even know you be hating nowadays. It's crazy. Crazy work. It's crazy. So becomes a bit weird because we have this big ass gap. I would wait for 1 hour components to be confirming that we're gonna hold this gap. Otherwise, okay, we inverse the hourly, which usually means we're pretty much clear on reaching lower. Really wouldn't really call this high resistance because of this wicks, but these it's a weird state. Looks straight like it's gonna hold this, but we want to see that retest. We're very likely gonna see that retest coming back in. We're waiting on that. That's our criteria. We have a really good rate. We just want to see how we respect that shit. We close the gap. This is a 1 minute entry here. It's respecting the 1 minute. It's pre-New York. Do we want to take this? I wouldn't really trust this entry, but it does definitely look like it's gonna go lower of the 1 minute, and that's what we actually do, kinda. Now we're probably gonna reverse and come back again above. Yes sir. And now we're probably gonna hold lower towards the next day. This is a good gap, but again, I would not take this. I'm just doing this for educational purposes. High resistance. This is usually, I'm curious if this is gonna happen. This is usually where we have that small reaction and then we continue higher when we fail to break lower because of this big ass consolidation. Let's see if that shit happens. That's very likely to happen considering we don't have volatility. Okay, never mind. We actually print midnight. That's weird. Most of the times it actually fails off this. But yeah, I wouldn't have taken that anyway because of timing. But now we're pretty clear on reaching lower. Except we already reached our draw, which makes us invalid to be looking at shorts. We do have this hourly here, which I'm slightly interested in, I would say. Us raiding that Asian high, and if we hold, we don't hold lower. Okay, we just don't really give a shit. Okay, now we're looking like this is very good on me. This is crazy good on being bullish, Gangi. Like this is crazy good, but sadly I wouldn't really call it valid, but it's crazy good on how we're respecting, how we're breaking, and this would be a very easy target for price. This equal highs are here. This would be a scalp, I would say, something like this. Probably won't come here because it's just too deeper in. Okay, we're building a route of resistance, but we end up working. I wouldn't have taken this again. It's just it's not valid for me to take, but it's interesting to see and test out. I really like how we broke here. We ended up, because of lunchtime and timing, we ended up stalling a lot, but that's okay. That's all good though, Gangi. Now we're probably gonna be initiating lower once again. We don't really have structure to confirm us reaching lower. We do have this really small gap here, but we ain't gonna be trading off this shit. It would be trolled for us to be trading off this, or is it? Is it? Buy sell liquidity raid. It's just a weird model. I wouldn't have trade this, but again, it does look good on reaching lower. I do really like the break here on going lower, and no break of structure break, if that makes sense. Targeting this overall liquidity, I wouldn't take this, but it's probably gonna work. Okay, it doesn't. We end up failing off this. Good reason why I didn't take it. Sometimes just intuitively you're gonna know which trades are worth skipping, right? Let's reassess probabilities once again, because we are kind of switching structure, and I would say we should have an easy time delivering higher towards filling this really good gap. This is low resistance. This is what we want to be trading towards. This is high resistance. This is high resistance. This is low resistance. So we have 1 hour gap with 1 hour gap. So definitely we have structure. We do have sell setting. We do have this breaker. So this actually is a valid trade on taking towards that big ass void that we have. But I do want to see this low getting swept, and I do want to see that retest. Oh shit, we already did, but look at timing, too late. Probably gonna continue towards Asia next day, or Asia's gonna come back lower to take this low. Okay, we already kind of played our idea. Our bias again correct. I did say I want to trade off this towards this. We end up playing it, but that's all good though. We cannot really be taking every trade. Still, again, I'm still heavily inclined on holding bullish cases, but we have a really dangerous sign. What the fuck is this? Bro, what is this, bro? What? I have no idea what this is, though. Game bar. The fuck? I don't know what that was. And here, we're very, very likely to be failing off this right here. Or not. Or not. But yeah, still bullish bias, no real entries. We cannot really be catching any trades. Still probably gonna hold bullish timing PM sessions. Don't really be trading in PM sessions, but we end up still holding bullish bias. Now we're approaching high resistance, is where we have a high chance of seeing bearish scenarios play out, but I wouldn't really be trading here. Once again, it's just a middle limbo state. We did print out bearish, we did inverse, we do have a pretty strong consolidation. So let's reassess probability. This is what I always do when I have a setup. I go again on the top down analysis and I check if the setup makes sense and if the setup is valid. I would still say this is really clear sell side, but on the 4 hour we just have a big ass gap. We don't have buy side liquidity rates, which instantly makes the setup not a plus. But let's see if we manage to retrace towards that consolidation, or we don't. We just look like we're gonna melt, but it's definitely gonna hunt towards those equal lows right here. No valid trade, but it's all good, bruh. We don't need to be trading every day, gangy. We do have a good sign here. Big ass 4 hour, and here I'm gonna wait for a 1 hour confluence. If you get that shit, could have oh shit, this looks good on being lower, but it does look good on having a bit more confluence. On failing that swing above this liquidity, I would still want to see that shit. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Now I still want to see it sweep all this liquidity that we have. We sadly don't have that hourly confluence. It's just we're watching price. We're probably gonna fail here. This is what I'm seeing. I'm not saying that this will happen, but we're probably gonna fail that lower high here and start running lower throughout Asia. So let's wait for Asia and see. Okay, 9. So now we're opening London. Still a bit weird. Still not enough confluence to be looking at shorts. We're building a lot of resistance on the lows here, but we're just gonna watch what price does. Okay, we inverse completely. A lot of high resistance. Let's reassess probabilities once again. We don't really have confluences to be taking this trade yet, so we cannot really be taking it, but we don't have to be taking any trades. Low resistance, reach this high right here, and now we have like a range initiation, mitigation, continuation, big ass London range. I would still like to see some buyers getting swept. I would like to see this lows getting swept here. It doesn't necessarily have to happen. This looks more like bearish, like we're being bearish here. We did sweep this low, but we're still looking like we're being bearish. I'm not sure if that's true necessarily. Okay, now it's looking bullish. Not valid, but we don't need to take trades to learn something or to get better, right? We can just test out things. The fact that the trade isn't valid doesn't mean we cannot test just by placing drawings here. That's why it was not a valid trade. This is why our rules always help us, and we end up failing. 1 hour gap, 1 hour inverse, again didn't take it. My balance didn't move, but yeah, it's fun to see. Let's wait for the next day. Once again, we're just chilling, bro. Sometimes my control space doesn't work, but it's all good. I would still say we're very likely gonna still continue bullish, but we just have to see how we react. Okay, never mind. We actually hold bearish. It's somewhat makes sense, but in this case I wouldn't really be trading. We probably hunt those equal lows, and now we're more likely to be switching bullish. Let me drink some water. A very important characteristic for a profitable trader, I realized with my years of being in the market, is knowing when to sit on your hands. It's extremely important, and knowing which trades to avoid, that's an extremely important characteristic for a profitable trader. Boom, we're very heavy bearish momentum. Are we reaching lower? Very likely, but again, high resistance. Do we want to trade in this? Hell nah. Even no matter how strong the bearish momentum is, we don't really want to be trading in conditions like this. Again, this is a perfect example of sitting on your hands. Even though the trade works, we know that on the long term this shit ain't working, chief. Now we have buy side and we have this, which I would like to see swept with a 1 hour gap lower. My plan is this: if that happens, I'm gonna take the trade. If that doesn't happen, I'm not gonna take the trade. As simple as that. Pretty good inversion here. Again, no confluence to be taking shorts, even though we see this hourly inversion, which is a good sign I'm reaching lower. It's not valid to take, but I'm gonna watch it just for fun, as I always do. Good as fuck, this good straight off the bat, but what I really don't like is these. Really high chance we're gonna sweep them. Again, I'm not gonna be taking this. I'm just gonna place the drawing for educational purposes. Looking good to hold lower here. Oh shay. Does this mean I should have taken this trade? Hell nah. Even if the trade works, I know in the long term this is a trade that most often than not fails. And also remember one more thing that I keep on saying, and I'm gonna say it again until it gets in your head, is in high resistance or in previous consolidations we tend to consolidate. That's why we need, or we should be avoiding trading into high resistance like this, because we see that price mirrored what we did here. We did consolidate. These are not conditions we want to be trading in. The only confluence we had in this recent price action to take this short was this hourly inverse. So hell nah, this was really risky, even though it worked massively, and even though our entry ended up holding really well. Doesn't mean you seeing one trade work, it doesn't mean on the long term it's gonna work. That's a very important thing that you should keep in mind, because if we take the same trade over the course of 20 trades, this setup has like a 30% win rate, right? So don't get fooled by market randomness. It's very important. I still want to see that sweep, but we did take out drawn liquidity, which makes it very likely for us to start retracing towards this right here. These are not conditions I would necessarily want to be trading once again, but we're gonna watch price because it's useful. It's okay. Inversion, boom, technically would be valid on taking shorts here, but drawn liquidity is taken out, which is one of my rules that makes me not take shorts in this case. I want to see if price comes up, but we end up just massively melting. This looks like a good land and continuation right here of this hourly gap. Let's think, do we want to be shorting against this? Hell nah. Once again, even though it looks good, even though it looks like a very good setup, we don't want to be taking this because drawn liquidity is taken, and first of all we're exactly in an hourly EVG, which makes me not want to take this trade. I want to see if price sweeps that high here, and we don't. We're probably gonna reverse. Yeah, and now we're good. Okay, we're not reaching into that. Okay, that's fine. We're probably gonna sweep that in Asia, this high right here, but it's more likely to be reversing considering how much, I don't know, it's weird. I would still say we're gonna play out bearish, but I wouldn't be trading in these conditions. Yeah hell yeah, bro. What it is, bro? Again, very big displacement. Hell nah. Taking trades of this very risky, even though it looks like it's gonna work. Hell nah. Again, hell nah. Not every trade that is working is worth taking. Always think about the long term. This is what I learned with my years in the market. Now we're pretty much clear on being bearish. We did take this, which makes a high chance of reversing, but I really don't know. In this case, we need to wait for structure. We see that hourly doesn't present any structure, therefore we cannot really be trading in conditions like this. Or if hourly and 4 hour don't present any gaps, I'm not trading. Hell no. Okay. We do have that massive, so let's see. In this case I would use daily because we cannot really look at price here. We do have this inversion here, so we do have a sell side liquidity taken. Let me remove some of the strong ones. Sell side liquidity taken, boom, into this inversion. This is a strong low, I would say, but again, unless we inverse this big ass gap here, it becomes risky to be taking this shit right here because we still have chances of playing bearish. Again, this gap here looks like a breakaway that we're gonna hold this wick right here. Okay, never mind. But if we see a 1 hour gap higher, I might consider taking this, but other than that, hell no. Okay, and we actually fell. See, now we're again switching on the bearish side. Timing, okay, London opened here. We landed open pretty early, but I do want to see New York pull back within this. We do. This can be definitely. Let me remove this. This looks like a lunchtime setup that is gonna break and deliver towards London lows in lunchtime. But I might be wrong. I'm not saying. Okay, yeah, it kind of does look like that happened. But yeah, lunchtime setups very inconsistent. Not what we want to be trading, but it's all good, bro. We don't need to be trading every setup. This is how you build a 60%, 70% win rate, by not trading every setup. That's definitely it. Let's see. Now we'll get no structure. We need to wait for price to do something. Buy sell liquidity rate into hourly gap, but no other confluence. We don't have an area to the left here, so we don't want to be trading here. We're more likely on holding higher. Okay, again, inversion, buy sell liquidity into is still not valid. Even if it works, gangy, like we cannot trade this. Fine, okay, play, put the drawing here and test out, but hell nah. Look, have this massive resistance on the lows here. See, that's why you don't want to be trading every setup. And we actually come to raid that buy side again. This looks like a good failed swing actually, and that we're gonna come here. We don't come in equilibrium prices, but we do pretty bearish. Okay, now we're a bit more chilling because we did get more confluence. Let's see on the 4 hour. But it just looks like a no-brainer continuation trade of this retest here, which we already did retest, but I still want to see us raid that liquidity, which is probably gonna happen in Asia next day. We're just practicing trading only A+ setup. That's why it's very important. Okay, we end up still displacing, no gaps, no trade, nothing to the left really. I mean, I wouldn't really look at this all of price action, to be honest. I'll probably look at this though. This can definitely be an area where we start giving some reactions, but for now it's very clear that we're very bearish on reaching lower. Big ass gap. We're not gonna trade in. Oh, we have a good sign here. I mean, not a good sign, but if we have a good thing to see inversed. If this gap gets inversed, we have a clear trade lower pretty much. But hell nah, this is probably news day. This is probably a news day. Looking at price here, not sure, but okay, this looks relatively decent, but just a garbage intraday profile that I would not trade. And it did look decent, this gap here, and it looked like we're gonna hold it. Let's see. Garbage intraday profile means garbage trade. We just end up having a really small reaction lower and we get upswept and we inverse. I don't want to be trading every single trade. That's why it's hard, because it's so hard to be patient, bro. It's so hard to be patient. It's not easy to not have that urge of taking a trade, to not have that urge of wanting to pass the account or passing the challenge or getting a payout or whatever you're trying to do. It's very hard to not have that urge, but to be profitable or to have a high win rate is definitely a requirement. It's not something optional. It's something you must have. You must have. It's not optional. Having the patience to wait for your A+ setups and deciding only to trade them, not trading anything else, no matter what the market is doing. No matter if you don't have a setup for 3 weeks, you still have to maintain that patience and be able to still hold confidence in yourself and still remain convicted in the fact that this is not an A+ setup, and I'm refusing to trade anything but A+ setups. That's a very important characteristic for profitable traders that I just recently discovered. And it's not easy. It's not easy at all. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to build that, and it's only going to be built by failure and failure and failure again. Failure getting back up, failure getting back up, failure getting back up. That's the only way you're going to build it. This already looks like a good gap here, but value trade, hell no. Yeah, not an A+ setup. Again, I'm choosing to trade only A+ setup. Continuation setup, sometimes fine, but not something I would necessarily look for. Weird price action. We're struggling too much on breaking from that AVG, which causes a break higher. So we're kind of starting to have a bit of bullish price action. Let's think. 4 hour, nothing really. I would say we're still pretty much easy on drawing higher towards this. This is where we kind of start having a bit of resistance. We do have a breakaway inverse and this inverse. We have pretty much a lot of bullish signs on reaching higher, but we do want to wait for Asia, and Asia's hella high. Let's think. Are we now? We're basically anticipating that higher low on reaching higher. Sell side liquidity rate, we don't have an area sadly, which is instantly, we do have this, but this is not even reached. This new week opening gap to the left. So this, even though we have a sell side rating, we have most of the checklist I'm looking for, we don't have that area, that area here, right? Area here that validates that we have really a lot of reason to be building higher here. Considering that we don't have that, it's just too risky to be taking buys if we're missing basically one piece. And this is also that limbo state that I always talk about, is when we have one break higher, we're in this state, we don't know if this right here is a break or is a liquidity rate, and we continue lower. Considering that we don't have that area here, it's more likely that we actually print lower here. So here is a state where we need to wait for more confluence, because it's very unsure on what we're gonna do. It looks like a relative failed swing. Okay, never mind. Alright, this is good. This is a good inversion. We're again gonna test out this, but we do not have an area on higher time frames to have reason behind basically us being bullish, and we see what happens. Also, we had news which automatically would have become a day that we skip trading, but yeah, see, now we can actually look at this if we get a retrace. But yeah, PM session, very rarely in days with news like this is a good inversion. I'm just not sure if I want to be taking this trade right here. Let's think. We have low resistance liquidity to be rated. Boom. Let's look at the 4 hour. We almost, did we come into that inverse? Almost. So let me remove the drawings real quick and go over if this trade makes sense. We have a 4 hour AVG that is followed up by a 1 hour inverse, which is our area. So okay, never mind, let me go back. Bias clearly bearish, strong liquidity this low, POI this 4 hour. Then we have the trigger or the sign that shows us that we're holding that 4 hour, which is the hourly inversion, which makes it technically a good trade to be taken lower, right? But I'm not gonna take it because it's PM session and I don't trade PM session. PM session usually fails in days with news. Sometimes it tends to be to work, but I just don't want to be taking the risk, to be honest. Here I would have already deleted that shit because it's way too late. And you see how we filter losses. You see me filter losses in this backtesting session over and over again. Even if this setup looks textbook, because of timing, we cannot be trading this shit. I actually end up printing bullish. But probably why we came higher is because we didn't take this. And now the same thing I'm gonna wait for. The hourly inversion right here. We sweep buy side into that 4 hour. We want to see that hourly getting inverse, even though I kind of think it's not likely to happen. Yeah, more likely to be printing bullish at this point. I'm not gonna trade this though. I'm waiting for the next day. Some days you just gotta be staying on the bench. Now we have that inversion, so let's rethink. 4 hour, what do we have? 4 hour AVG, 4 hour inversion actually, which this is what I would call a good trade lower. Let's remove the drawings once again. We have a 4 hour where the bodies tell the story. Very important here, look. Bodies respected the 4 hour. Bias is still bearish, we didn't switch. We have a breakaway inversion, which is like a market structure shift, this inversion that we got here. But we are valid on looking for shorts, that's for sure. We are valid for looking for shorts. We have this inversion here on the hourly, which we're gonna wait for a retest to look for lower prices. But there's one thing to this trade. We have this 4 hour, so us having this 4 hour, we cannot target lower than this, because here it's a very high chance we form that higher low and we start building bullish. So our only target is going to be overall this area right here. Let's see on the 3 minute. I want to see it's slightly higher resistance. Wouldn't really consider it's gonna hold, but we're gonna see. I don't really trust necessarily this move. I don't want to see us sweeping this trend line here. It looks like our RMC, a pretty choppy range initiation, mitigation, continuation. But yeah, this is looking good straight off the bat. I can say my mind is a bit sketchy about this buy sell liquidity rate, but the gap does look good and I'm gonna take it. If it's a loss, it's a loss. We do have slightly high resistance, but this is very lower time frame, very lower time frame, and the reaction already got played out by that move higher. We are having a 2 hour at most on this trade. We're just gonna try. If it fails, it fails, right? At this point I would probably very likely delete the trade because we already almost got TP hit. Even if it works, it's probably just gonna reach TP before actually tapping our entry. I would still definitely delete at this point because we're leaving our entry open in lunchtime. So even if it works, we don't care. It's way too likely for us to come into that buy side here. It works, but it's very clear that the conditions were low probability. It's very clear that this trade was low probability because of this consolidation, which again happened because of this. So actually, now that I think about it, even if this is on the 3-minute, it just would have made the trade invalid. Consolidations always make trades low probability. Always fucking do that shit. Always. I get confluence. See, once we break below that lower time frame consolidation, we don't really have a problem on printing lower. We don't really have a problem on printing lower once we get through that highly resistant area. That's the thing here. And now oh shit, I like that gap here if it would have formed, but now it kind of got fucked. I like that how we had that behavior here, but this candle closed bullish and it kind of invalidated the trade because I needed to see that hourly gap form. We did retrace, pretty nice break here, but yeah, sadly it got invalidated by that bullish candle right there. Let's reassess. I think for now it's still valid to be looking at lower prices because we have this really strong drawn liquidity, and now this is really good. Okay, this is really good. Let's relook at price. So we came from this 4 hour, buy sell liquidity swept into that 4 hour, then we have the breakaway inverse, and now we have our serious inverse that we're waiting for a retest. And that what overlaps with that 4 hour inverse is this right here, which makes it really good for us to be taking shorts. This is the trade I would actually take if we manage to. Okay, this is I don't really like this. Let's say I would still like to see that order block getting tapped. I don't really like this, and I don't trust the move. Sadly, this is gonna be a skip trade, even though it's valid because of the move looking extremely weird. Did fail the lower high. Technically, in theory, it's valid, but I still know that it's way higher probability that we actually come in this order block and that 4 hour inverse. So I'm not gonna take it, and we see that the entry gets rejected. This is where intuition shines on skipping bad entries. And again, we get price validating our entry, but bias is bullish, right? I said this before in the stream. A lot of times price is going to validate our entry by mitigating it and holding lower, but then it gets rejected. Why? Because of bias. We had the wrong bias. In this case, I did say that because for me, we were still more likely on drawing towards that 4 hour or this order block right here before continuing lower in 10. So it's always about positioning yourself in the highest probability scenario, right? And now we also have another good sign to be looking for here, which is this inversion. I'm still down on looking at lower prices because I really like this area, but yeah, okay, now we break massively. Now all I want to see is a retest towards that inversion, which I'm not sure we're gonna get, but yeah, we can also use this. We don't need to use that inversion. In this case, I would say it's fine for us to use this gap to be drawn, really strong drawn liquidity, but I'm really doubt that we're gonna come back and re-sweep this. Okay, never mind. Relatively decent, but still not a strong break that I would necessarily trust. Now we're in lunchtime, so we definitely gotta be waiting for that New York session. Let's see if we sweep the high, if we manage to still hold lower. In this case, I would probably wait. Yeah, we just inverse, right? We just inverse, which is all good. All good. We cannot have bias proper every single time. Now we're kind of switching bullish, but I think I'm actually gonna be ending the stream here. It was a good backtesting session. I skipped a lot of trades. We didn't take very many trades, right? We didn't take very many trades, but this is the reality of trading only A+ setups, and we're trading in the 2014 price action. We actually see we took 3 trades in 1 month and 2 trades in the other, basically in July. I'm not sure where we are now in price, but this is the truth of how you're gonna achieve a high probability or a high win rate. right? Let's see here down here what our average trades per week. This is actually my average trade. It's 1 to 3 trades per week actually, which we get here. But consider that we only traded one pair, which is why we had so little trades, right? But yeah, trades per month average 2.5. I know why it's weird, it says 1.5, but whatever, right? It's still fine. This is the reality of holding a high win rate. There's going to be a lot of trades you're going to skip, and you should be trading only A plus setups. That's the reality of it. We did trade some news, which realistically probably wouldn't have taken them, but it's all good. This is generally my statistics. Ideal RR is crazy. 80% is a very good win rate, but remember, we only had 5 trades. Don't get so hyped up about something like this, but it's still a very good win rate. We only had 1 loss out of 5 trades, but that doesn't really matter. We're not gonna think about win rate. We're just thinking about taking only A plus setups, and the win rate is gonna reflect that as a byproduct. Your win rate is a reflection of your process, so never come in the market about thinking about this. This is just a reflection of how you're gonna trade. And how we traded in this session, this backtesting session, was trading only A plus setup. That's why as a byproduct we achieved this high of a win rate. We averaged like 5% per month, which is fine considering that we only traded one pair. I trade 8 pairs realistically, so do what you want with that information, but I do trade 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 with gold. Not 7 realistically, because the XY I cannot really be trading right now, but yeah, we can multiply that 7 with this and we get a really high percentage. But yeah, this is what trading only A plus setups can do to you. So this was kind of it for the stream. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I didn't really talk with you guys, which is something that sometimes makes me sad, but I was just kind of sharing my views and what I think and how I practice. I hope you guys enjoyed this. You really saw what it really takes to really achieve high amounts of profitability, right? It really takes you skipping a lot of setups. It takes you choosing to trade only A plus setup and skipping the shit out of bad trades, the trades that you don't like, the trades. Instantly skip that shit and you choose to only trade the setup you feel really highly convicted in. That takes a lot of patience, that takes a lot of discipline, and it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of reps in the market, because for you to build this patience, you have to be impatient first. This is how trading works. For you to build patience, you have to be impatient first. You have to suffer by forcing trades. You have to suffer by taking those low probability trades until you've suffered enough to the point where you actually say, okay, I've had enough. From now on, I'm gonna be patient. That's how trading is built. And it took me 3 years to reach this point. So don't ever be mad at yourself. Don't hurry. Don't hurry the journey. Just enjoy every single day that you put in the market, and with time, results are gonna speak for themselves. If you keep being fully focused on the process, if you keep being fully focused on how you can get better, or how you can achieve how you can become the best trader, results are automatically gonna catch up to your process. Results are a byproduct of how you trade and how you treat trading, right? You should never come in the market with the mindset of results, win rate, or whatever. So this is what I wanted to put with this video out here. Just a normal backtesting session on a rainy day. And remember, bro, trade only A plus setup. That shit is gonna change your life. You have no idea how much impact that shit has on your win rate. I had 33% win rate when I was trading every valid setup. Now that I'm choosing to trade only A plus setup, this is how my win rate is. I'm not saying that this is my win rate for all the time, but it averages around 60%. So going from a 33% to a 60%, that's how much an impact trading only A plus setup has on your win rate. It does take patience, but I know you can do it. Just focus on it. Have that focus in mind. Have the focus of being patient, and you're automatically gonna build this. So again, thank you for being here. I love you, and I'm gonna see you next time. I'm gonna see you tomorrow. We're gonna stream again tomorrow.